All right, guys, we are live, and we are talking about another severe weather threat. I think this is the third or the fourth one that we've already had this year, Michael, and it's not even the end of March yet. And there's another one which I do have very briefly towards the end of this analysis. Another threat on Wednesday,
Yep.
and that one could be just as impactful, if not more impactful, than the one that we're going to have tomorrow afternoon, and tomorrow evening. And
Yep.
so we'll give folks another minute or so to filter in, and then we'll get started with timing and impacts and a general analysis here on what we're going to expect as we work into tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening. Michael, any initial thoughts with this setup?
Well, the first thought I have is to share this with a friend, tag a friend, phone a friend, repost, retweet, re-X, whatever. Hit the like button, hit the love button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, do all the things. There's multiple things we could do here. So let's make sure we
Mhm,
do that.
mhm.
And we'll get going on this. So initial thought process, Brett, is I like the word QLCS. Everything around here, at least in the Midwest, seems to just do that for the most part. It's very, very rare that you would see an outbreak of supercell like thunderstorms. But I think this time tomorrow night we're going to be tracking a nasty line of storms that are going to have wind, hail, and tornadoes. I think all three things are at play here. So
Yeah.
uh, that's where I'm at.
So here's just kind of a look at the overall setup with this system. So this is a 1 p.m. tomorrow Eastern time. We've got a decently strong low pressure system across northern parts of Illinois. Snow ongoing across parts of the northern plains again. Those folks up there have continued to deal with winter while we've had spring further to the south and to the east. And you can start to see the initial line developing out to the west in parts of Missouri and parts of Illinois. This will just grow as we go throughout the afternoon and throughout the evening. And so this is by about 3 o'clock. The low's actually strengthening, which I think is something important to note, Michael, because it's going to allow for these storms to probably intensify and amplify as they actually push further east with this type of a setup.
Yep.
And compared to the last couple of systems that we've dealt with, this particular system, I'll go over to dew points here for a second, has a lot more moisture. Dew points in the mid 60s across the Ohio Valley. And so we have a lot more fuel with this system than what we've had the past couple of systems, which I think can help these storms be a little bit more organized than even what we dealt with. Gosh, what was it, 10 days ago or so?
Yep. Yeah, and you know, there seems to be, at least to me, some enhanced support for some lift and some forcing up here for storms to probably rotate at a pretty good bit, with the upper level jet stream kind of diverging over the area. So something else to kind of keep in mind here is that we might be in southern Indiana, southeastern Illinois, western Kentucky, southeastern Missouri, northwest Tennessee. That area in there, I think, is really going to be in a sweet spot for the brunt of this for sure.
And what I'm showing here, guys, this is basically a look. This is called helicity. It's a look at the spin in the lower level of the atmosphere. And I'm noticing these darker blue colors, these higher numbers from Western Tennessee, Western Kentucky, Southern Indiana, and Southern Illinois, which, again, to your point, will help amplify the rotation signal as these storms start to develop tomorrow evening.
Yep.
A lot of folks asking about timing. We will get to that here in just a moment. Be sure to scan that QR code in the top left. Get a pro trial of Clarity, really intended for businesses and organizations and events. I know that there's probably outdoor events as we go throughout this week, Wednesday as well for schools. And so that will be something that I think the Clarity Pro trial will be very, very beneficial for, to get a more detailed analysis on these systems.
Yeah, Brett, great reminder from our friend Eric. Don't forget
Draw. Yeah, I
our
forget.
drawing tools.
Look at that.
Yes. There we go.
Look at that.
Yep.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, we can't tell you where it's coming from yet, but this is a platform that we're creating, here, and it's coming along. It's going to be fun. No names, no clues yet, but we got a really, really fun platform that we're going to be unveiling and launching here very soon for anyone to get access to. So, what time are we looking at tomorrow, Brett? Let's kind of time
Yeah.
this up. One thing too, real quick. I think let's look at one piece of data before we get to this. How are we looking for cloud cover? I mean, we want to talk
Sure.
about stability, and if we get sunshine tomorrow, what is that going to mean for us?
Yeah, and I'm gonna move over because sometimes this is the name 3 model. Sometimes the name 3 can be a little bit too aggressive with cloud cover. So I'm gonna move over to the HRRR. And so the white's basically going to indicate 100% cloud cover. This is 3 p.m. But what you start to note some of these blues start to show up,
Hmm.
especially kind of across southwestern Indiana, western Kentucky, western Tennessee. What we start to see in this area in here is clearing, especially through here, out ahead of the line of storms as we get into the late afternoon and evening, 4 to 6 p.m.
Yep.
And so in that time frame, you're starting to get clearing, which will help amplify the intensity of these storms. You get sunshine; it helps fuel the storms. And while you pretty much retain your cloud cover kind of to the north and to the east, this area I'm most concerned about seeing some of the sun peak out and lead to more amplification of the storms as they move through the area.
Yeah, I was just looking, Brett, while you're talking. I was looking at the European model, and just kind of looking in Southern Indiana at SQTs in general. And I certainly see the potential for sunshine to break out, um, in spots, especially along and south of I-70 tomorrow.
Oh,
It's
yes.
going to be. I don't think it'll be clear blue skies. Now, if it is, that would be concerning. Um, but there's dry air to work with out ahead of this that I think can allow for some sun to peek through tomorrow. So,
Yeah.
the,
This area in general, I think, has the highest probability of seeing the sun.
yeah, and that's what I would say before as you get into timing. If you want to switch over, you can. Um, the more clearing out we see, the probably a little bit more robust this is going to be. If we don't see as much in the way with clearing out, I think the severe threat can come down. The reason I say that is because our upper level winds are not overly impressive. This is not a really strong, dynamically driven system. Now, Wednesday, that's probably going to be a different story.
Mhm.
But with tomorrow night, if it is overall an overcast tomorrow, the threat will come down. If it's not, it'll go up. So let's take a look at timing.
Yeah, so this is 3 p.m., guys. At this point, we're getting this line to begin to develop. Now, the sun hasn't really come out yet. And so, what we're going to expect to happen as this moves further to the east, note how the storms begin to fire off a little bit further south as well. This is by about 6 p.m. So, 5 p.m., 6 p.m. here, we're seeing storms approach the border of Illinois and Indiana. And a couple of things off the bat that I noticed, Michael. I noticed the kind of the Boeing segment that you see here.
Yeah.
And so we'll talk even a little bit more detailed about the tornado threat here in a second. But I think regardless, a notable wind threat in here as this line advances across the border in Illinois and Indiana and pushes kind of the south into the east.
Yep. 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 I agree.
And so again, this is 6 p.m. This is as we work towards about 7 p.m. By this point, we're working storms from Terre Haute to just northwest of Indianapolis, including Lebanon, including Kokomo, up towards northern Indiana. You can see the low pressure system still here to the north as well. And then as we work towards about 8 o'clock or so, this is when storms will be arriving a little bit further to the south and to the east, Indianapolis metro area, Bloomington. Now, I want to note this is 8 p.m. Again, if we screenshot this here, 8 p.m., I would give or take an hour with this. It could speed up an hour or so. It could slow down an hour or so.
Yep.
Some of the data is a little bit faster. Some of the data is a little bit slower. And so for the Indianapolis metro area, you're looking at kind of the 6 to 8, 7 to 9 time frame, somewhere in there for these storms to arrive as we work into tomorrow evening. So we zoom this back out, guys. You can see at this point, this line is extending all the way from Indiana down through parts of southeastern Missouri, down through Arkansas. Now, where we may differ a little bit from the Storm Prediction Center is down in this area. Note how the coverage down here, guys, a little bit further down to the south, Arkansas into Louisiana and eventually Mississippi, it's not quite, data's not quite as aggressive down here. And so if you've been looking at our forecast on social media or on Clarity over the past 24 hours or so, our outlook has been a little bit further north with the highest threat. And I think that we're starting to see data reflect that with the more intense storms a little bit further to the north.
Yep. And I think that we'll probably see a little bit of an uptick or a change in probably the outlook there from the Storm Prediction Center, possibly. And I've got a piece of data I'll bring up in a minute to show that, but you can keep going with timing, Brett, if you'd like.
Yep. So then again, guys, this is about 8 p.m. here. This is as we work towards about 9 p.m., guys. Intense storms still moving through southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, southwestern Indiana, and through central Indiana. This is by about 10 o'clock. Note kind of the curves that you see here. You've got one here. You've got one here. You've got another one here. That's typical of the what you mentioned earlier, the QLCS, where you get these tornadoes to develop along the line, and you also get these bowing segments that can produce some very powerful wind. I'm also concerned further to the south as well of some very large hail, especially maybe southwest Indiana, southern Illinois, and southern Missouri. This is also where I think we could be dealing with some of the greatest tornado threat. If you recall, this is where the sun could come out as we get into the evening hours tomorrow. And so, 9, 10 o'clock, there could be a couple of stronger tornadoes down across Western Kentucky, across Southern Indiana, Southern Illinois, Southeast Missouri. As we go towards about 11 o'clock and midnight, you can see storms beginning to work out towards the Louisville metro area. I would imagine that 11 to midnight, we're slowly starting to weaken this line a little bit. I think that you can kind of see the bowing segments dissipate a little bit, not quite as intense. And then it's exiting out of the Ohio Valley by the early morning hours, 3, 4 a.m. on Monday morning. And so that's kind of a general idea of some timing in terms of what to expect. I'll go back because I know that we have a ton of people in central Indiana. This is 7 p.m. We'll zoom right down into Indianapolis. This is at about 7 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m., 9 p.m. And so that 7 to 9 p.m. time frame, especially moving right across central Indiana in terms of the most intense storms.
Yeah. So Brett, kind of what I'm pulling up as you're talking is the high resolution ensemble forecast model, the HREF, and kind of looking at what it's suggesting. And this really helps us. This particular tool helps us to highlight threats where the high res models are really trying to hone in on. If I share my screen here, you'll see this is that particular model here. And what this is, again, this is a collection of all the high resolution ensemble models, all the different, what we call them CAMs. And this is where you're seeing the greatest probability of the updraft helicity swaths, or where the storms are basically going to be the most organized and have the ability to rotate. And you can kind of see the probability here, maxing out 70 to 90% at the state line of Illinois and Indiana, where some of these storms are going to have the potential to be the strongest. This is, we'll kind of play this out. And again, these streaks you see, these are the different weather models. So you can correlate the different colors to the different streaks, or the different models, if you will. There's 5 o'clock Eastern, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. And so you can see the timing is interesting. I think, as Brett said, it's give or take an hour here on each side. But it looks as if around 8 or 9 o'clock tomorrow, there's some indication where there can be some rotating thunderstorms with the best updrafts for not only for tornadoes, but for wind and hail too. And kind of going back to Brett's point, the idea of some of these thunderstorms being capable of having the damaging wind threat, I think, is something we want to keep in mind. If they latch onto this 850 jet that ramps up here tomorrow night and they bow out, they can certainly be just as damaging from a wind perspective too, with straight line winds. So, yeah. That's kind of
Yeah.
the data right now with what it's saying.
I'm gonna pull up here, guys. I'm gonna go back to this here for a second. I'm gonna go ahead and show our official severe weather risk map for you all, to give you all an idea, so you all can kind of see your specific location in terms of where the threats are the highest. And so that red color that you all are seeing there indicates where severe weather potential is highly likely. All modes of severe weather, we're looking at widespread severe storms from Indianapolis, south of I-70 to Bloomington, Louisville, Evansville, Clarksville, Tennessee, Bowling Green, Kentucky, E-Town. I think if there's a risk, Michael, pending timing, the eastern edge of this maybe could be trimmed a little bit. If these storms aren't rolling through Louisville to Lexington until after midnight, if it speeds up a little bit, this is probably fine, but I would say that would be the risk, at least to monitor, is kind of the eastern edge of this in Kentucky.
Mm.
Regardless, highly likely to see severe weather, multiple tornadoes in this region, and then that pink area, if you were inside that pink circle, Bloomington, Louisville, Evansville, Southwest Kentucky, Paducah, that's where there could be a couple of longer tracked tornadoes. And if you think back to what Michael just showed, and I'm going to show it here again in a second, some of those updraft helicity tracks, some of the more intense ones were in this pink area
Mhm.
across southern Illinois, southwest Indiana, and western Kentucky. And to be honest, Michael, and you can tell me if you disagree, I feel like this has been the hot spot over the past couple of years, really,
Yeah.
in terms of these tornado events.
Yeah. No, I agree. But I do want to note, I don't think that this is per se a large tornado outbreak. I think this is
Mhm.
an event where there's going to be 5 to 10 tornadoes or something, maybe 15. I don't think you're looking at 50 tornadoes and just a pandemonium of tornadoes. Now, I think Wednesday that could be a different story.
Sure.
I'm certainly overly concerned with Wednesday. Tomorrow, again, there will be storms that can rotate and they can produce tornadoes. I just don't think we're looking at a prolific outbreak of tornadoes at the moment. But any ones that do form certainly have the potential to be long tracked and strong as they move through. So I just want to put that out there. We're not forecasting the worst thing we've ever seen, but the
Mhm.
signal for Wednesday is certainly one that might be pretty intense, more than this one.
Yeah, for sure. For it to be what, 5 days out at this point, Wednesday, and for us to be throwing out, a very likely severe weather event at that distance is certainly notable. That does not happen very often.
No.
And again, I'll show a map on that. Anytime that you're talking about likely severe weather 5 days out, that certainly is concerning.
Yep.
That being said, what I have pulled up here are those helicity tracks. So the storms that are the strongest, that have the capability of rotating. What I've circled here, that you can see kind of the areas where we're seeing the highest concentration of those tracks, especially south of I-70, southwest Indiana, western Kentucky, Bloomington, Carbondale, Paducah, Bowling Green, Louisville. These will be the areas that will have the highest potential for a couple of tornadoes, some very large hail, and of course the damaging wind threat. And not to dismiss the damaging wind threat north of I-72. This area is certainly at play for damaging wind as well, but the
Mhm.
highest tornado threat a little bit further down to the south.
Yep. Yep. I would say generally, Brett, from East Central Illinois through the state line of Indiana and Ohio, we're looking at probably a 5 to 11 p.m. window.
Hmm.
If you could maybe circle, 5 p.m. there to 11 p.m. and kind of, 11's probably going to be that line there, and 5's going to be the start of it, right out in this area there. So kind of that from west to east, that's probably the timing tomorrow um, for this to move through. And again, we've talked about tornadoes and we've talked about wind, and I certainly think there could be some hail too, some big hail. I
Hmm.
mean, I think we don't want to sleep on the hail threat here.
Yeah, and I think that anytime that you get these tracks like this, certainly when you get intense updrafts, that can lead to some notable hail. And we've got more instability this time around that can actually amplify the hail potential. I
Mhm.
wouldn't be shocked if in some of these storms down here, there is certainly still a threat down here. I wouldn't be shocked if maybe there's less storms in this area, but the storms that do develop in this area could have some very large hail down here.
Yep. Yep.
In Arkansas, Western Tennessee, and Missouri. I think Southeast Missouri, Western Kentucky, Southern Illinois, in terms of all modes, is probably the biggest hotspot.
Mm-hmm.
Combo of tornado, large hail, and damaging winds.
Yep. Yep. So, guys, this is round one. Real quick here, we're going to talk about Wednesday too. I want to just real quick make sure to encourage you all that are watching. You can go to bamwx.com and you can get instant access to Clarity and try it out for free for the storm system if you want. Go to start free trial, just click on it. No credit card required. You get all of our data, access to our everything. I mean, you can test out the full platform, look at all these organizations that use it, that rely on us, Fortune 500 companies, NFL companies. I mean, you name it, the application has what you need, especially in a time like this. The best thing I love about our application as well is the location-specific alert technology, where it's not alerting you by county, it's alerting you by location. And so go to bamwx.com and check the free trial out. All right, check it out, or you can scan the QR code up here on the screen.
For sure.
7 days for the trial, by the way. Someone asked.
7 days. Yep. 7 days for the trial. Will be super beneficial, Michael, during these severe weather opportunities. The nowcasts.
Yeah.
As we do live streams tomorrow, we'll show you some of the nowcasts. I know that we're going to have John on tomorrow, and he's going to be kind of walking you all through these nowcasts and these alerts that he's sending out to people that have the Clarity platform. And so certainly would highly encourage scanning that QR code, hitting the link. I know we threw the link in there in the comments to check out the Clarity Pro trial.
And just so a lot of folks are asking, it's you can trial any level. You can trial any level. It's really designed for folks that are making decisions for organizations, events, outdoor fairs, festivals, schools, athletics, that type of thing. You can try it out on the personal level. Clarity's not cheap because Clarity's the best that there is. There's just no doubt about it. So just keep that in mind there for some folks asking about that. So you want to talk about Wednesday a little bit?
Yeah. Here's this real quick before we get to Wednesday. This is the tornado threat level map. We threw this out earlier just to highlight the areas that have the highest threat. Now, to your point, Michael, just because it's a 4 out of 5 doesn't mean that we're dealing with 15 EF3, EF4 tornadoes. But this area that's a 4 out of 5 has the highest potential with this system for tornadoes. And I think that there could be several, a couple of stronger ones, but then several smaller ones as well, I think, within this area.
Yep, I agree.
So here's a look real quick. This is the initial idea. And again, this is 5 days out for Wednesday, April 2nd. And we're already highlighting that severe weather is likely at this distance. I would imagine that red highly likely is going to start to show up here, if not tomorrow, very soon, early next week. It's not very often that we put out a 3 on a scale of 4 in terms of this low end to highly likely at this distance. And so I would say high confidence right now of a severe weather outbreak across the lower Ohio Valley, especially as we work into Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening of this week. And let's see, do we have an updated, let's see here. I think this is yesterday's run of the GFS and the European. So let me go and I will pull up real quick, Michael. I'm going to go pull up some new data.
Yeah, I think Wednesday has the potential to be a little bit more dynamically supported in the upper levels as well. This one's going to have the potential to be a legitimate tornado outbreak with probably several tornadoes if things can continue to do what they're doing. We don't necessarily have timing for Wednesday right now, but we'll get back to it. We'll nail it down as we get closer. So
sure, it's likely, just as a general idea, it's going to be in the late afternoon, evening. I'll show the European model here just to give an idea of what we could be looking at. This is mid-evening hours, roughly, on Wednesday. What is concerning to me about this type of look are some of the discrete
That's
looking
wild.
cells that you
What
see
model
on
is
here.
this?
This is the European.
Wow. That's you don't see that too often.
No, especially again 105 hours out.
Yeah.
This is an intense signal. If I can go look at some of the photographs here too. Oh, yeah. So, guys, what you're looking at here um, looks like a crazy complicated screen. Just to simplify this here, the lines that you see when you see a curve, when you see a big curve like this, that's indicating very, very strong rotation. And what I'm concerned about with this is that while I think that this system tomorrow could be a little bit more concentrated in area, I'm concerned that the one on Wednesday could be very widespread from Indiana all the way down through the deep south. Look at the deep south down here.
Yeah.
A ton of instability, a ton of curvature in these lines, indicating some very, very notable rotation potential from the
Showed
deep
the
south.
upper level 500 too, Brett. The
Yeah,
winds.
from the deep south all the way into the Ohio Valley. So here's a look at 500 millibars. Look how strong. This is an insanely strong jet.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah.
and, and we are in what we call. Let me zoom out to the national view here. We're in what we call the right entrance region of the jet, and
Mhm.
so we often look kind of in this quadrant in here, typically where some of the strongest tornadoes can be
Yep. Yeah,
in
for
these
sure.
types of. This is a very, very strong jet stream.
That's wild. That is not normal that far north, and then that's gonna Wednesday's gonna be something to really pay attention to, guys. Not to try to scare anybody, but that placement is not normal. That placement is normally over Louisiana for that type of
Mhm.
jet. That's not typically this far north. So that's something to really make sure we're keeping a close eye on, guys, for Wednesday for sure.
Yeah, and look at the low level jet with this.
Woo. Yeah, that's cranking.
It
That,
it it I think that the in terms of the ceiling for tomorrow versus Wednesday, I think the ceiling in terms of intensity is a lot higher on Wednesday than it is tomorrow.
mm-hmm.
That's not to downplay tomorrow's threat. Tomorrow certainly still there can be some pretty big issues, but in terms of a memorable day, I am concerned about Wednesday at this distance.
Yep. Yeah. So great analysis tonight. We've got the Florida game as started, Brett. Florida and Texas Tech. Last I checked, it looked like Florida was up, but it's been a little commercial break here. What's your prediction for tonight? Is it Florida and Texas Tech and Duke and uh,
Alabama.
who's winning tonight, Brett?
Yeah, I'm gonna be boring and stick with the one seeds. Given how the tournament has gone, I'm gonna go with Florida. I'm gonna go with Duke. I'm gonna go with tomorrow. Who plays tomorrow? We've got Houston and Tennessee. I If there's a one seed that goes down, I think it's Tennessee beating Houston.
Mm-hmm.
I
Houston
think
should have lost last night.
yes, they should have lost last night, and I think Auburn beats Michigan State. I think that Auburn's just more talented than Michigan State. Michigan State is very well coached, but so is Auburn with Bruce Pearl. So I'm going to go with Auburn.
See, I'm going to go. I'm going to go Texas Tech, Duke, Michigan State, and Tennessee. How about that for a
All
final?
right, all right. So only one seed.
Yeah, yeah. What the hell, It's
I
tied right
like
now, 19 up.
1919. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Again, I'm obligated to root for Florida due to two family members going to Florida.
I know. Yeah.
So, but
Um,
yeah,
well,
I'm gonna stick with my original idea of Auburn and Duke in the championship game.
okay. Any closing thoughts, Brett? We know we've had a lot of people asking. Again, tomorrow night, 5 to 11 p.m. We'll probably see a thunderstorm or a tornado watch come out tomorrow. And again, don't dismiss the threat. It's still a threat that could bring damaging thunderstorms to the area. And then our attention turns to Wednesday. So make sure if you want to keep up to date with expert opinions and updates sent right to your phone, go to bamwx.com. You can do the free trial. or scan the QR code there, and we'll keep you posted. We'll keep you posted on all this.
Yes, we will, and we'll be continuing to throw out updates on social media as well, and of course, we will be live streaming as storms fire off tomorrow, and probably do a live sometime tomorrow early in the day as well.
Yeah.
So certainly, we will keep you posted and keep you updated and keep everybody safe as we go into tomorrow and Wednesday as well.
Brett, Texas Tech's up 5.
Oh no!
All right, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Brett.
Yep. Have a good evening.
All right. See ya.